justice. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Heroes Podcast. My name is Ryan G from the Netherlands, owner of ADS Online ADS Strategy, with my co-host, the real Pete Kirkwood, your success creator and kingmaker. How's everything, Pete?
Wow. It's a great day to do a podcast because when you are in the position of being a success coach and life is good and you know how to demonstrate success and living life in just such a way that you really enjoy and all the rest of it. Well, what actually happens on days that it's like it's shit?
Mm-hmm.
What happens on days that it's just sucks? Like this is something that a lot of the time people hide in when they start getting eyes on them, that if they're having a bad day, they don't want people to know they're having a bad day. They're going to try and hide that because they don't want to tarnish that image. And I think that it's interesting because if you really are about your shit, you want to put your bad days on display. Your good days, your bad days, all the days, because you'll represent who you are. And people need to see the best of the best and the best of the worst. They need to have something to aspire to at both ends of the spectrum. And it ties into the subject I wanted to talk about today, which is the call to action for a hero. So if you're going on an adventure as a hero, that doesn't mean that it's it's a bunch of dwarves and a wizard around the table with a jaunty song and a big feast before we walk off in a morning sunrise. Like, sure, some of your adventures as a hero, that might be how the call goes down, but it might be someone got fucking killed. It might be someone got knocked out. It might be someone got beat up. It could be something quite negative. It might be something quite rough to deal with. And that aspect of the hero's journey often gets forgotten about because you don't know how this call to action is going to go down. Personally, my call to action came off in a very it came off to a very good start, right? Because good and bad are only perspectives of the same thing. So for example, being called to go to adventure, you can see it in a positive light or a negative light. It's up to you. And there's always an opportunity in the tragedy. So as this change came through, where all of a sudden there was more, how would I describe it? More purpose to my work, like a bigger goal and a bigger cause, right? I've started to see things in the world and how I can start pushing a pebble down that hill to create the snowball, the avalanche, to really create some serious change and help people in terms of the financial systems and the way success is and things on a bigger scale, even app ideas and things like that. And that is cool. It's shiny. It's a big vision. It's really exciting. You know, I had fucking heaps of people get behind me, dozens. I was not expecting that many people to get behind me when I said, fucking, let's do something. And I put out a call to adventure, call to arms. So the good thing is that we have the perspective a few days down the road where things have been challenging and it's changed, right? And you've set off on your adventure. You've done it. You've had that that initial rush of enthusiasm, and then all of a sudden it's like then you have to fight people, and then you're getting shot, and then you're getting stabbed, and then you're getting punched, and then you're getting kicked, and you're like, I've got an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's gonna fight me the whole way. And I've got a 999 miles to go. I've made it 1 mile. I've been called and I've stepped outside. And I think that this is one of the coolest aspects of the hero, is how when the hero comes forth and sets out on that journey, we always see that challenge that struggle, in that call to adventure. And we're somewhere there, right? It might the initial walk out the gates might be cheery, but there's a first fight or a first kick in the guts or something like that. When we have that moment where we're like, damn, man, I'm kind of glad I'm sitting on a couch with my feet up in front of the fire on a lovely evening, listening to the rain on the roof while I'm watching the story on TV or I'm reading the story in a book. And I'm not going through those trials and tribulations. I've got somewhere comfortable and nice and warm and soft to what's the word? Vicariously live this adventure through the tale of this hero. And
Mhm.
and it makes a contrast when you are the hero and you are going through these things. It's what are your thoughts on that, Ryan? Like, you see that contrast getting started for a call of action and how that actually plays out.
Well, I believe the first statement, one of the first statements you made, was really powerful because purpose guides us.
Exactly.
And that's where it all starts. Before you have a call to action, you need to have a purpose. Or at the very least, find that purpose. There's at least a few hero journeys where the hero knows killing, defeating the dragon or whatever obstacle shouldn't just be the purpose in and of itself, but it's in, on the journey, the purpose gets clearer and clearer. And
Yes.
what you see looking at the real world, a lot of men, including myself to some degree, are still trying to find what their true purpose is. Now, in general, I believe your purpose in this world is to serve it. And
I'll
of
agree.
course, find what you're very good at, or become very good at something and serve the world through it. Be it becoming very good at earning money or becoming very good at overcoming whatever obstacle that life puts in your way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take Wolverine, for example. The thing he always says was, Bub, I'm the best there is. And whatever there is, you'll soon find out. Something along those lines. And in that, we can immediately hear the call to action. Should there be an opportunity to act, he will.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And in that, we start to see a certain vibe, a certain way of being. Then you spoke on struggling to start. Everybody has this, me included. Starting is the most difficult thing in the world. Being in the action, easy, because there's already momentum. And this is true even in physics. If you are to push a train from a standstill position, it will take way more effort to start it up or to even get
Yes.
momentum than to actually be in the momentum, regardless of whether you're on a hill or you name it. See
Mm-hmm.
what happens? And it's the same thing with taking action, warm ups, you name it. And thus, a lot of people tend to fall off or miss opportunities for speaking, etc. Felix, in your last talk with ACD, you decided to take action towards speaking on whatever topic, which was beautiful. I didn't have anything to say and I didn't want to say anything, so I missed the opportunity to take action in that sense. So, taking action is also knowing when, not just why, not just how. And for some reason, the idea of having a set schedule comes to mind. I've heard this said multiple times in both the AZD lectures as well as a lot of his um, products. There's a recurring theme of having a schedule, having a set schedule and sticking to it. Also, even in The World's Greatest Salesman by O.G. Mandino, it's the case. Why? Because a hero that doesn't know his or doesn't live through his schedule will not be able to have reserves when an unexpected obstacle comes up. I've been through it where, for instance, a very simple case where I'm already done with the day, I want to go to bed, only to find out, fuck, no one did the dishes. And there's a
Right.
lot of
Sometimes
dishes.
it's the simple things.
It's the simple things that will drain you. And then I realize, okay, cool, here's an opportunity to take action, and by choosing action, I choose, okay, be a beast or be a bitch.
Yeah.
If I decide to not do it, I've lost the chance to prove that I'm a beast because I'm doing the work that isn't necessarily hard per se. It's just fucking annoying. But once I've gotten through the first stages, it gets easier. And then of course we
I love
have what's
I
up?
love how you can use the stages of the hero's journey to this frame is so powerful, right? Because we've spoken about where I'm thinking about literally what I'm doing in terms of a large scale at the moment. I'm looking to change the financial world. And you've spoken about conquering the dishes. And they both fit into this paradigm because the principles of how the hero's journey works and how it operates are universal. So
Mhm.
it applies to any challenge that you take on as a hero if you look for how you can fit it in. And it's like you mentioned, there's that first initial start, and then there's that part afterwards where you like actually have to get through it. And having a schedule as part of your reserves, like it makes sense. There's lots of things you need as a reserve. Like when you're directionless, a schedule can be very good for that. When you've got purpose, because at the moment, the task I'm attempting and taking on is looking to break systems apart so completely that a schedule is a joke, right? To attack the very way that we think about finance in terms of a culture on this earth is where I'm going with this. It's huge. And like someone pointed out to me, everyone on the way who has any kind of money is going to see you as a threat.
Mm,
Like if this doesn't like if it comes off wrong to people, this could be very challenging. And I'm coming at this from a perspective where the way I'm thinking about it is not the way anyone else is thinking about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. Someone else would. Like that's where I'm on this journey. And as I'm working with people all around me, whether they're friend or foe or anything like that, I can feel that I have to grind the way through. I have to fight over things, and it's always a constant. And there's like the energy is like nah, just nah, and you have to no, yes, you have to push your way through this. And it's funny because even the people when you're breaking a paradigm and you're going to action and all the rest of it, and you're the hero, you're on the journey, you're carrying the vision. Sometimes the guy who's helping you row the boat is pushing in the wrong direction or completely doing the wrong thing. And this is the challenge, right? When you have the call to action as the hero, that doesn't mean that everyone else can see it, can hear it, can understand it, can step up and do exactly where you're going with it. So your concept and your personal hero's journey can actually be very, I don't want to say lonely, but it's the truth, right? Because it's your journey. It's very personal to you. That means that other people just might not be able to get it, to get on board with it, to be able to vibe with it and do it. And I have seen, right? There's many people who have been like, I can see where you're going and I want to help and I want to work with it, but I haven't got the whole picture. And that's cool. But I've also seen a lot of people where I was expecting them to be like, look, man, I don't even get what this is, but I see you're excited about it and I'm excited about it at the least. And their attitude's just been like, nah, it's not going to work. You've got to stop. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. You're not going to be able to do this. That part's not going to do. And I'm just like, whoa, like, hang on. I get what you're saying, but that doesn't change the fact that this still needs to be done. And the perspective of the person going through the experience frames the situation so heavily. Because when you're looking at it from the hero's perspective, you're seeing where you put your foot next to climb the mountain. But when you're not seeing it from the hero's perspective, you're just looking up at the top of the mountain going, it's too fucking high.
Mm-hmm.
And that perspective is literally all that makes the difference, is where you focus your attention. It literally is the difference between failure and success. Because like you say, having a schedule and habits, having the next step laid out in front of you is something that it's going to, if you know that walking up this mountain just requires 1 foot in front of the other, and you know how to put 1 foot in front of the other, you can just follow that schedule all the way there. You know, if it requires some teleportation and some magic and some fairy dragons, well, then maybe it might be a little bit more harder than what you've already got down. But that's part of your journey, is to learn to conquer those ridiculous challenges and things that arise along the way. So the call to action for a hero is incredibly self-determined in the fact that you're the hero, or it's up to you to choose to be the hero, and it's up to you to choose what is a call to action. Sometimes it'll be like so obvious that you can't ignore it, right? Like your parents die and your family business that's sort of, just been a part of your life forever is now all of a sudden in your control. You are going to notice that call to action on a new adventure in a new way. It's unavoidable. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's something as simple as, like you said, the dishes are left out. And it's up to you in that moment to say, I am going to do these dishes. No one's going to know I did these dishes. No one's going to give me credit for doing these dishes. No one's going to reward me, but it is the right thing to do, and I shall do these dishes. Simple, huge. It's really up to us to listen for the call and to heed the call when the call comes for the hero's journey. And I think that we often are too absorbed in something that's not necessarily the best use of our time and attention and focus, that a lot of calls for a lot of fantastic heroes' journeys ring unanswered for all of us.
Interesting.
I'm getting philosophical and getting into the principles of it here,
Well,
like, I can see that recognition. You were going to say?
Well, I can say a lot. Well, let's start with this story. Dwarfs versus giants. Say you would have a mountain of melons. The lazy giant would look at it and say, "Oh, this is easy, I've done this before, I'll do this later." The dwarves, being barely a few feet, decide to go, "Fuck it, this is a task, we start now." After a few hours, when the giant wakes up, the giant realizes these dwarves are already halfway, and he starts. He hyperventilates, he gets frustrated, he makes mistakes, He overestimated the energy that was needed for this situation, and by the time he's done, the dwarves already collected the rewards and are leaving homewards. What can we learn from this very small story? Know thyself in many ways. Hey, Raoul, welcome to the call. In many ways, this specific story is the dwarves versus the giants. Gives us an idea of knowing your strengths and knowing that now is the opportune moment to start.
Yeah.
The best was yesterday, but now is the opportune moment to start. It's always now. And if you're still doubting, that means maybe let's put it in a structure. What I like to use is plan, do, check, act.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear what needs to be done and for what reason, how much time you'll need for it because the deadline is a deadline. If the deadline is you have 9 minutes, then you have 9 minutes to get something done. That's all it is. Don't stress about it, just do it. The doing is the actual doing, and the checking is reflecting. Does it make sense? Using your example of rowing. If you're the captain of a ship, but the guys are rowing the wrong way, double check, use your compass, use your map, whatever, and delegate. Being instructing yourself towards moving in the right direction or delegating your people towards the true North Star. All right, Felix, see you soon. Raul, welcome to the call. And then taking the correct action. And then all of a sudden, I start to realize taking action or the call to action somehow has a relation or an association with having a North Star, having vision. Because once we've written a hero storyline, you start to realize, of course, the hero would wash the dishes. It's in his very nature to take these actions seriously. Of course, he would help the granny cross the street or help a small child find his mother or do something as simple as, even though he's extremely tired, still do the dishes. It's because that's who he is. It's part of his storyline. And suddenly I start to realize, wait a minute, this is what ACD is talking about. ACD being our mentor. It's because of the stories we tell ourselves, like, of course, this is what I do. Because it fits the bill. Is where we start
Exactly.
to realize. And I suddenly start to realize who is a great entrepreneur that follows this story line. It would be Richard Branson with his Virgin Method. I remember
Mm-hmm.
reading his very first company was a coffee company, if I'm correct, and him going, "Fuck, I don't know shit about coffee other than drinking it," but he decided. Well, and his wife decided to tell themselves the story or follow the storyline of it's fun not to know because now we
Right.
get to experience this for the first time and stand on the shoulders of giants, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, we can see and change the coffee industry through our own way. And this sounds very similar to what you're doing. You've already experienced the financial world to a very, very long career, I believe.
It wasn't a massive career, but it was what I did was the words from Eminem ring in my mind, like hit the earth like an asteroid, did nothing but shoot for the moon since. Like when I started in that career, you were expected to put in 40 hours a week. And quick math says at least 4 nights a week with an extra 5 hours on top, as I put in 60 hours a week minimum. not to mention anything I did on Friday nights or the weekends,
Mhm.
because I built my life and my social circles and everything around going where the business was and all the rest of it. So
Right.
I focused in on it and gave it so much effort and energy. That's how I catapulted up through the company, and I made so much money for the company and myself, because it was of the intense effort and energy. And I mastered a discipline because I was competing against guys who had been in the industry for 20 years. And I was
Mm.
like, I've got to set a leadership standard. So I gave it so much that I just outworked them, right? They could do what I could do quicker, but I just put more and more hours on the clock. So I got more done. If they could do it in 40 minutes and it took me an hour, well, 8 hours in the day, and then I work an extra five, I'm going to win. So that sort of mindset and process gives you those results. And it's like you say about how you choose the storyline you're creating. So right here, anyone listening at the beginning of this podcast would have noticed a significant difference in my energy and tone. And you will have noticed it's gone through a journey over this podcast.
Mhm.
Initially, I was clearly in a shitty mood, like I was not having a great time. Then we started exchanging and going back and forth on ideas and the rest of it. As that developed, it became introspectively philosophical, where my mind was going through things and I was going through principles and the rest of it. And then we come out the end into what results and applications we can use with this mental technology. And
Right.
here we are with a much higher tone towards the end of the podcast, because we've reaffirmed the entire purpose of a hero's journey, why you started, what you put up with, why you put up with it. And all of a sudden you realize, here we are, this group of men in the tavern having a drink after some of the first battles on the road to the top of the mountain or Camelot or wherever the fuck we're going on this journey. But we have reminded ourselves, we have sat together, we have talked, we have communicated, we have reinforced the purpose and the vision and things and built that. So anyone listening to this podcast will be following a similar experience where they will have been going, shit, I realize the negative. Now I see the philosophy, and now I'm understanding the positive. And we've gone a mini journey inside of this podcast, which brings it back to the point that it is all connected, it is all perspective. And that is how the hero would do it. Like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So to change the financial world, that journey is no different than to change my own mental state. And any of the listeners who started at a negative place or a neutral place, bring them on the wheel as we go through and change their mental state as well. So they're thinking in terms of, how can I apply my hero's journey to the tasks around me? What can I do to seize this opportunity as a challenge and look at it as, it's like a video game, right? Like, we all like playing video games and winning video games, and all of a sudden life becomes a bit less serious. It becomes a bit more of an adventure, a bit more of a story, a bit more of a fairy tale, a bit more of a game. And here we are with a renewed sense of energy to play. Because when we play for our purpose, that gives a far better energy than when we grind for our work. It's in the language. And the language was grind and work at the beginning of this podcast. It's where my head was at with it. Now, to the end, we look at play and purpose. Like, it's completely done 180 degrees. So I can see you nodding and like, if you're writing notes while we're doing a podcast, I think that I'm fucking killing it. Like, does this make sense?
Mm-hmm. 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 It does. It reminds me of my BJJ and Taekwondo days. The moment I started to just play instead of just grinding it out, I had way more energy. Way more energy. And it's the same with studying, it's the same with business. Find what is fun. Yes, Felix, play versus grinding it out, but you have to learn to grind it out first, in my opinion. Why? Because you need to build, the character that Chris is probably busy with work right now. But
time zones around the world.
Oh, don't even talk about it. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
The
I
fact
know,
that we can
I
even
know.
talk.
Look, the thing with the grinding versus the playing, right? Like
Mhm.
when you're grinding through the work, like that's part of the journey, but you're in a mental state where whatever you're doing, right, you've got a reason and a purpose to achieve it. You're getting paid or you're completing a task or whatever. But when you're approaching that with the mindset of playing for your purpose, you can still do the same task, but you can do it from such a higher frequency and a higher vibration that it's going to be more effective, it's going to be more productive, it's going to be more creative, it's going to get better results, it's going to be faster and quicker. Because, like you said with scripts, right, he would say you're in that flow state. So you see how a
Exactly.
lot of these ideas come circling back around to themselves. It's all so cyclical that what happens is when you find yourself at a negative point, all you have to do is just get some energy and momentum behind it in the right direction and go around the wheel until you
Indeed.
come back to positive. And this technology is quite available to us, and there's various ways of using it. Right? I
Hmm.
can meditate, I can jump on a call with you guys, I could tune into a podcast like this one or a different IMC podcast because a lot of them have that through it. I don't know
Hmm.
how many of them start with the host in a shit mood and ending with them fucking vibing, but some of them will for sure. I know some of Arash's have. So realistically, we're probably coming up on our time. Uh, I feel like this is the call. This is how it works. You have to be aware for that call. You have to be looking for it, listening for it. Don't be too distracted by enjoying the present moment or suffering in the present moment. Either way, the opportunity for the adventure to be a hero is in front of you. You can grab it. Like there's a lot of them.
Hmm.
Start grabbing the little ones and the bigger ones will start following. I
Hmm.
didn't end up here on this ridiculous adventure that's looking before me by playing it small and playing it safe. I've had to burn some bridges and I've had to go to war with a few people,
Hmm.
and it's all coming together better. Like it almost feels like it shouldn't be. It almost feels like I've just been so extreme about this that it should be worse, but it's the opposite. Like I've been so extreme about this that now it's just getting better and better and better and better. And I could say that, I could see the future, but realistically, financial value analysis, planning and mapping and stuff, I could just calculate the right things to do to get to this point.
I see.
And I know that I'll use exactly the same formula going forward, and that's exactly how I'll achieve the goals. Because you're right, it's about having the schedule and sticking to it, but my schedule is as long as I keep swinging. It's got nothing to do with where I stoically put my feet. I've got to keep being creative and jumping from branch to branch. Now, I don't know what the branch is going to look like until I'm in midair and I'm trying to catch it.
Hmm.
So it's constantly being that flexible, adaptable, able to conquer anything and not going rigid, not going hard, not going too soft either, but keeping up that ability to conquer whatever new environment presents itself. That's the beast, that's the hero, that's so many of these archetypes that we can go through.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm just going to go for an hour if I don't shut up.
Hmm.
I don't have an hour. So if you want to wrap that one up, Ryan.
Hmm. Wrap this one up. Play on purpose is ultimately what equals the call to action. That's the main notes, the main
Mm,
takeaway. It's finding, whether you like it or not, whether it's fun for you or not, how to play with the situation. Because you don't have to be tense, washing the dishes, dealing with a nagging wife, mother, girlfriend. Play with it. And through the purpose you've created from the storyline you tell yourself or the storyline you follow, you will evidently become stronger because you've chosen to be a beast.
exactly.
That would be all. Should we open up the floor for questions, Felix, Raul?
If anyone has something they want to add in the last minutes, go for it.
Hmm. Nope. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Raul's probably super busy. So
Where's
let's
this?
do this.
Is a businessman.
Yes, Raul, the
Awesome.
businessman. Awesome. Then let's end the podcast. Right. Guys, it was fun. Felix, thank you for joining. Raul, us. This has been the Hero Podcast 64, all the way from New Zealand and the Netherlands. Different time zones. You know how it is. My name is Ryan G from ADS with the real Kirkwood. I wish you a fantastic life.